you find that you still get a chance, even when you're approached with kind of an aggressive opposition? Do you still get a chance to be able to speak about that love?
Dan just writes a whole bunch of lyrics when that kind of stuff when that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah, I just think that it's just so hard anymore because a lot of people talk about that God's not in a box and that He works in mysterious ways, but in the end, there's a lot of formulas and a lot of predetermined propositions on how it's just supposed to be. And you know what? For me, it's like as far as the band's evolution. To me, it means more to me because I think what I've noticed over the past couple of years. I mean, it sounds like a shame to say, but I mean, my first Cornerstone was 1996, so I've only missed one in 10 years. And just like being here and talking to everybody, it's kind of like it breaks my heart to see some people in the industry and stuff to look at people as like notches in their belt, and as my goal is to just like get this person to believe this or to believe that. And I mean, the most rewarding thing to me in this is just meeting people and being myself and looking them and carrying them as people. And I think that's the main thing that's lost these days is people are people, and in essence, yeah, they are souls to be one, but in essence, to look at it that way sometimes it is rough because it's not just like you meet someone and you talk to them and then you lead them through this prayer and then that's it, and then they get to fend for their own. To me, it's more important to meet people that you come back to each time, and then eventually after 3 years of knowing someone, they want to talk to you about something, and then you get that chance to just sit down and not even necessarily like, oh, I'm here to master or I'm here to like win you over for a certain thing, but you're a person in general. You're a human being that God has created and God loves, and it's not just about a notch in the belt and winning. You know what I mean? It's I think the overall essence of people as people has been lost, and it means nothing more to me to meet somebody and play a few shows and come back and talk to them this time and that, and then have them open up and talk to you about something deep or something that's wrong in their life. And it means more to me than anything, and I think that the way that we do things now allows us to do that more than we ever did before. And I mean, there's a lot of chaos these days, like a Christian band or not, but there's so many variables that come into the fact that what is and what isn't a Christian band. Like, what are the necessarily defining rules of being a Christian band? And is it a ministry? Is it a band that has altar calls? Is it a band that has Christians in the band? It's just like it's so chaotic these days. And like we talked about before, not unfortunately, I don't mean that, but we've been doing this for 10 or 12 years. And I remember the days when it was just like Zayo and Training for Utopia and Strong Arm and Overcome. This like small group of 10 bands that were out doing it. And back then it was a little different as compared to now. We have about 8,000 Christian bands doing the same thing, and it's like, well, now that this is going on, maybe it's time for us to do something different, because the void of people getting on stage and ministering definitely isn't a problem these days. And like I said again, there's no necessarily rhyme or reason or formula or structure to it. So it's hard for us because what is the structure, or what is the definition of a Christian band these days? Do we fit that? You know what I mean? And is it a band that plays in churches and ministers and has altar calls, or is it a band that has Christians in it that has subtle messages, or what is and what isn't a Christian band these days? I guess that's definitely one of the things that we ponder, and we're kind of in the middle of that. This aspect of our career.
We're in a gray area musically. We may as well be in a gray area there too.
Yeah, we've for people that don't know, here's the summary of the entire Zayo career. We're not Christian enough for the Christians, and we're too Christian for the non-Christians. So we've been in this pigeonholed, horrible area our entire lives. And people say, oh well, this and that, maybe getting out of this and getting out of that, because there's no money in it. I don't know if you noticed, but bands like Unearth are selling 400,000 records, and as they're dying, and you don't get out of this to make money. If anything, we make less money than we used to, but our whole thing was always just being honest with people, and we never had a desire to lie to anybody. We never had the desire to deceive anybody. And in essence, we're just trying to be honest. And we're not, we're not this or we're not that. We're just kind of like Jeff said, we're this gray area band that has always in some way tried to keep on integrity.
We wouldn't be here if we were ashamed of anything. Let's put it that way.
I can't record and ask questions. This is a question for Marty and Jeff. Coming into a band with so many hardcore fans, because you can't deny that Zao has like a lot of really hardcore fans. What was it like to come into a band like that? Was you accepted at first, or what?
Well, I think for Jeff and I both, we were such big fans of the band for so long. I mean, Dan and Scott and I remember bringing Zao up to the original Zao up to Greensburg, for their first shows outside of their hometown, and just being around it for so long, it was almost just like a nothing transition really. It was just and I'd been tour managing them for a couple of years before that, so it was just it made more sense as far as myself just to pick up the bass again, rather than go out and get somebody and add them into our fold that we didn't know or, didn't know how they were going to be in the band and that kind of stuff. So it's hard enough being in a 15-passenger van for 2 months at a time with people that you like, much less people that you don't like. So.
Yeah, I had been following the band since back when Dan and Brett and Russ joined Blood and Fire, so I was always keeping up with them, even though I had lost personal touch with the guys in the band. So I was always following them and stuff, and even when I joined, like I'd always been like lurking on like the Zao fan sites, just seeing like what their fans were saying about them and what they were up to, and so I kind of, when I joined, I sort of became the internet spokesperson for the band by default, in that I'm the only one that checks my email. So it was actually pretty easy for me because I think a lot of the diehard fans that were on the websites discussing like what does this song mean and what does that song mean, they kind of got excited that there was a member of the band there, and in the end it sort of made me feel welcomed.
Was it harder for you since Jesse was basically the forefront of Zao for like the whole entire career?
It probably would have been if I came in right after him. I think the fact that like when he left and then like Steven came in, I think Steven probably took more of the brunt of the post Jesse backlash. So I sort of got off easy that way. But it never really bothered me. I mean, I still to this day even checking the band's email that from fans sending in, I'll get emails that say like, oh, I miss Jesse Smith, like you guys just aren't cutting it anymore and stuff. You tend to have to like just sort of ignore that stuff and just keep doing what you're doing. You're not going to please everybody. So,
for the record, I think I said this the last time I did a press conference here. In my opinion, Dan Wyatt is the forefront of Zao. And Jesse Smith was a small part that he had a kind of a mouth and people paid attention to him. But if you really look at what was going on at the time, I was a very strong songwriter. Russ was in there with me when he was in the band, but without this man right here, Zao doesn't exist.
Marty. Without Marty, there is no Zao.
I didn't say it,